The following story is an artistic work of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would consider it as fact. Chapter 2 Covert Ops Part 2 December 17th, 2006. Since I got so many requests in my first thread to keep you all updated on the one-armed, one-eyed lolly situation, I thought I'd post what happened during last night's shift. I'm still somewhat hesitant to start a blog, so this'll just have to do for the time being. Anyway, I picked her up a teeny little stuffed bear about the size of her hand and one of those chocolate oranges you smack to split open, and stuffed the toy into the pockets of my scrubs and the candy into my bag next to my DS before I headed inside. The security guard at the reception desk, a big Indian guy that always talks about MTV, did a short search. Guess it was my lucky night, but only checked the bag, so it was my lucky night indeed. We exchanged mindless pleasantries and I headed to the break room to check the night's duty log. Anyway, to make a boring part of a story short, I eventually wound up back at the night station to start my shift, and killed time as best I could until around 1. When I saw that the coast was clear, I hooked the beeper set up to receive calls from the patient's rooms onto my waistband for when we're away from the station, and I headed for her room with the bear and orange chocolate in one of my hands. I listened at the door for a minute or so, noting that there was light coming from under it, but she's apparently been scared of the dark since the accident, so she always keeps at least a small light on, even when sleeping, trying both to listen for activity and to work up my courage, then finally opened it up.
"Oh, OP, you were always so romantic."
I found her looking my way, in a mixture of very mild surprise and annoyance. She asked me what I wanted as I stepped in, closing the door behind myself, and walking up to her bedside, where she was propped up with the pillows behind her back, frowning. I just smiled as gently as I could, and I took my hand out from behind my back, opening it to reveal the dual offerings. She blinked at that, staring at them for a beat or two before looking up at me again, and frowning again, then asking, and I quote, "What?" "They were for her," I said, explaining that the other nurses had noticed that she seemed to be feeling down lately, and that a little early Christmas gift might help. Then, as I set them down on the corner of her little bedside table, beside her, turning the bear to face her, I also explained that the people in charge here probably wouldn't approve of the nurses and my giving them to her, so could she keep it a secret?
"You will continue this story, or this man will eat your face."
I gave her a little wink when I said that last bit, and brought my finger up to my lips in the standard shh position. After another few seconds, she turned her gaze from me to the bear, the confused, almost upset look on her face still there, and was silent for almost a minute. I almost had a heart attack. It was beating so fast, worrying she'd react in the worst way possible. But then she mumbled something I almost didn't catch, save for my heightened state of awareness. "Thank you." I just smiled again as she refused to look directly at me, turning her good eye downward, instead into her own lap, and, after a moment's debate, reached out and lightly touched the top of her head with my open hand, for just a half second, before I turned around again and moved to walk out of the room, barely able to control the butterflies in my stomach. I snuck a peek back as I closed the door again behind myself, after stepping out, and saw her reaching for the bear. A great success, I'd say. I quietly opened the door again around 3 to find her sleeping, curled up on her left side, the bear still in her hand, near her chest. An angel doesn't even come close, B, and I felt better than I had in weeks, cleaned up the foil and the couple pieces left from the chocolate quietly, and stepped back out again. So far, so good.
Voice actor's note. From this point on, most threads will follow the format of a story first, and an AMA after. Nice. Now just keep it slow. Very slow. Emotional bond needs time. Way to go, Anonymous.
You are a cruel fucking animal if you're really trying to seduce her. Where do you live so I can call the cops?
I hate B noobs who are saying things like that. They really don't understand B at all.
As far as the situation is concerned, I really think that B has a genuine interest in seeing that the girl is happy and feels secure. If he's planning on pooper sticking, he deserves to die, though.
Please, OP. Make that girl's life worth living. Be her friend. Don't go down the dark path. Listen, B, I've been around a long time. Posted a lot of legendary stuff, been in a lot of legendary threads, been around to see a lot of B's development. I'll leave 4chan for good, if that's what it takes to spare the girl. Seriously, I'll even request a ban. Into her own lap. Lol, legless people have laps?
Yeah. She only lost roughly half her legs in transfemoral amputations. Or what? Do you need knees to qualify? Anyway, there isn't much more to tell. I just finished up my shift as best I could, in a mixture of nervousness and barely suppressed glee. Nothing much else happened. Oh, I finished hard rock mode on EBA, but that isn't really salient to the main topic of discussion.
Is it hard to become a nurse? I want a little amputee lolly.
I completed my registered nurse program after I finished my bachelor's. It wasn't as hard as med school, I guess, but I didn't really feel like another 4 years of school and then a bunch more years of interning after that at the time. I had been considering becoming a paramedic, but didn't, for reasons I don't really want to get into here. Anyways, it's a pretty rewarding career when the doctors aren't being total dickheads, and the patients are vomiting or pissing or shitting all over you. Maybe that's what drew me to B, actually.
Bullshit. Mainly because Terry's Choco Oranges are the hardest fucking candies to get ready to eat. Why would you get something that a one-armed, one-eyed girl could never break open? But please, continue anyway. I was the guy who suggested that Christmas chocolate orange. I didn't think it would actually be too hard for a one-armed, no-legged, one-eyed, 7-year-old half-Japanese blonde blue-eyed lolly to break. So don't diss my idea. Instead of difficult-to-eat candy, why don't you just buy her new shoes?
With no feet to wear them?
I guess it figures that B's answer to Densha Otoko would be incredibly fucked up. Anyway, good on you, OP. Try to get some pics.
Wait, like you said, you could get in deep shit if somebody recognizes it. We want undeniable proof, though. I want to believe you, OP. I think you're telling the truth because of your background story, like details about becoming a nurse. Check out. Still, undeniable proof. Can you think of anything?
OP! Post the obituary of the parents, but blacking out any incriminating evidence. Names of people or places.
Damn it, Anonymous. I'm a nurse, not a newspaper archivist.
I believe this thread and yesterday's 100%.
Shit, I knew I forgot to mention something. I hadn't really tried one of the chocolate orange things before, so I asked the checkout clerk how hard it would be to open one. She said you have to whack it pretty hard, but that's all part of the fun, right? And laughed. I laughed too and left the store. Turning it over in my head on my way home to get ready for work, I decided it would probably be a bit frustrating for her, and I didn't want that, so when I got home, I gave it a couple of medium-strength whacks on my table, then felt around the outside of the foil. It seemed to have separated somewhat inside, so I left it at that state, then got ready, and the story proceeded as I told it. And her eyes were green, by the way.
Holy shit. This has the scent of truth. You're back at normal time, 14-ish EST, and there was no pooper sticking. What are your plans for the future? Do you really think you can adopt her?
I'm strongly considering it, and looking through some web pages on local laws. I have a lawyer cousin, so I can get some free legal advice if it comes to it. He'll be at the family's for Christmas. I'm considering telling them about her then, and asking their advice on my consideration of trying to help her. I won't be mentioning poopering to them, no, by the way.
Boring and quite obviously made up. So much so that I didn't even bother to read to the lolly rip scene. Seriously, could you make it any more obvious? You sound like you're writing a novel, not recounting some event. We're not dumb shits, you know. Clearly, nothing that happens in real life can't be written creatively, which would explain how non-fictional books don't exist. Tard. I'm liking the story, OP, pasta or not. Looking forward to updates, and good luck.
I want to Habib. He said nothing yet, that's obviously bullshit, and he's acting fairly normal. The only extraordinary thing here is how wonderful this situation is.
You have pleased Anonymous about keeping us all updated.
Keep the updates coming. Serious question, OP. How often do you work, and will you be giving us updates on B frequently? Even small updates would be appreciated.
I usually work 5 or 6 days a week, probably more this month since I don't have a family, spouse, kids, to spend the holidays with. I have tonight off, so I'm a bit nervous about what's happening there while I'm at home, but not much I can do about that. I'll probably just spend Christmas Day with the family. It's about an hour's drive each way, so I'll be seeing her then, and Christmas Eve anyway.
You're a good man, through and through. If anyone can adopt her, it'll be you. And if you do adopt her, maybe then you can take a picture of her. Just take care of this beauty you have found, and nurture it. This is simultaneously heartwarming and beatard-tastic. I want to believe you, but I know that good things are usually lies. I know you can't take a picture or anything, but is there anything else you could do that further solidify my belief in you? Does your nursing home have a website? Of course, we can't know who you are, but the more evidence that is true, the better.
Yeah. I'm really going to let slip the name of the place I work at. When I have at least 10% of the responses telling me I need to die in prison rape fun time, and they want to call the local police on my sick ass. I'm not totally retarded, people. No offense to the poster I'm replying to here directly. I need to AFK for 10 minutes or so, getting buzzed on my intercom. BRB. Let me throw in my 2 cents, even though they don't matter. You have an opportunity of a lifetime. You can really get in on this girl if you do it right. However, in light of your recent events, you may be walking closer to the creepy factor if you don't watch it. I mean, let's look at it from her perspective. Someone busts into her room at 1 in the fucking morning and hands you a candy and a bear and tells you to keep it a secret. Kinda disturbing. However, it seems like you did it well. If she's holding the bear, it means that she probably appreciated the gift. Here's what I would do. Stay back for a little bit. Don't get too suddenly grabby, or else the little alarm bells in her head will go off. I don't care how messed up she is, she's a normal human in the head, and she'll probably read you like a book. Keep low and keep nice. Visit her occasionally, preferably if you actually have something to do. Just make your way closer where you're in her line of sight. Just not obnoxiously so. And good luck. If you get lolly sticks, I will hate you forever. Forever.
To an extent, I agree with you. Now that you've brought the whole scenario out of fantasy lollyland and into reality, it's certainly dramatic. However, if OP is completely honest as to her reaction, it could mean that she wanted it. Of course, nightly visits like that are out of the question. On the other hand, she may have felt put upon to thank him. Ors. Not that you should feel despair. You did great, OP. Sometimes I wonder if people at 2chan have these sort of encouraging, nice threads all the time.
You know, OP, if you didn't try to seduce her and instead gave her the platonic love and emotional support she needs to recover after so great a trauma, you would be one of the finest human beings I have ever heard. Of course, we would tell you to get the fuck out, but you would still be a really good human being.
This story is epic fail. I can tell it by the lack of pictures and not by reading it, since I didn't.
After a bit of anti-post spam and Anon's duking it out about whether OP is a pedo or the spammers are hated furries and guy effects. This thread saddens me to no end. The OP has done a genuinely kind act for an unfortunate little girl and gets spammed with this dye-pedo bullshit. Underage retards like this guy are the cancer that is killing B.
It's one or the other, adopt or sweet lolly. I'd advise you to go to the adoption method. It sounds a hell lot more heartwarming, and there are enough lolly pics / stories on the internet. Kindness is something the world shouldn't run out of, regardless of your secret inner dark feelings. I agree with the person who said that it might look creepy to her, but then it's hard to know exactly how it went unless you were there. I suggest acting like an Oni-chan. Big, strong, and laughing all the time. If you do that and she starts feeling like a little sister, then as Japan has told us, she will automatically start lusting for Oni-chan penis.
This brings Lolita, the book, to mind. Lola's parents are dead, mother by car accident, and she's left in the care of Humbert, the stepfather. Young Lolita is into the sex at first, but she gets pretty psychologically fucked later on and comes to hate Humbert. Eventually, she runs away from him and believes that he ruined her life. OP, I'd think about this. OP here. Sorry about that. My new neighbor from down the hall needed help moving his Christmas tree inside.
I'm the only one he knows here so far, and he's been pretty nice and generous so far. Free beer and Chinese food, woo. So what was I to do? Anyway, I live alone, so my computer being on isn't generally a problem. And too many posts to answer amidst the spam, so I'll just start again from here on. Yes, adoption is the most likely course, with the other major choice being do nothing, which I would feel like shit over, but remains a possibility simply due to the overwhelmingness of the undertaking. Poopering, for the last time, isn't on the menu for the foreseeable future, and I haven't even done anything inappropriate to her yet, people. I haven't touched her in any manner outside the boundaries of my profession and her position as my patient, and I haven't introduced her to any sexually inappropriate material, verbal or otherwise. Oh, and for the record, all of you taxi driver wannabes out there furiously masturbating to the thought of proving to the world just how big a man you are, needing tweezers to do so to be damned. Find me one place where I've actually said I planned or even wanted to rape her. Go ahead. Fetz.
OP, you wrote this. It's not like nobody saves this thread, you know, /s.
This is B, regard. Do you honestly think I would have gotten anything but stick it in her pooper or do a barrel roll if I'd played it more or less straight, simply saying that I was having some very illegal feelings mixed in with less illegal ones towards her? I mean, it's not like I just wandered in here from Gaia or something, shithead. I was a B-tard long before I ever met her. And again, there's a difference between acknowledging a possibility and stating an intention of acting upon it. GBT basic logic.
This is a girl with no legs, one arm, and a fake eye who just lost her parents in a car accident. What you're doing is good, and if she ends up enjoying your company enough, adopting her would be good. But if you even molest her, I swear to God, I will track you down and turn you into the authorities. With all the information you've given, it wouldn't really be too difficult.
True, rape isn't the eventual outcome, but think of it like this guy said. Do you honestly think anybody could love her but you, OP? I know this is a bit heavy, but think about it seriously. No legs, one arm, one eye, half Jap, with apparently no family who cares enough to take her in after this tragedy. Only a B-tard could love her. But that's way, way, way into the future. Right now, you have to think about now. Seriously though, keep up the good work.
Officer, there's a man on the internet who says he's going to rape a little girl. No, I don't know what his name is, or what he looks like, or where he lives, or where he works. No, I don't know the little girl's name, or where she lives, or what she looks like. Hello? Hello?
And to address the potential creepiness of the situation last night, now that I'm reminded by this post. Yeah, I know. But how else should I have done it? Oh yes, go right ahead and start urinating, dear. I've got you. You won't fall in. Oh, and by the way, here's a stuffed animal and some candy. I tried to be as non-threatening and gentle as I could be, and it seemed pretty clear, to me at least, that nobody had spoken to her this way, to a sad, lonely little girl, as a person that actually cared about her, rather than her making progress in her treatment, more or less since the accident. That was why she didn't have much to say. I don't intend to proceed straight to visiting her room all night every night from now on. Geez, I'm not that dumb or crude. I'll just be around, available, and a source of kindness if she wants it, and things can proceed from there. She's a smart girl after all. I'm not going to treat her like some TV Land Ricardo kid.
Only issue with her body is that within a few years her muscles will have degenerated enough to make her appear as a crippled old woman, unable to clean her vagoo, pooper, and whatnot. I wondered about that too, but when thinking about it, isn't she still able to do simple exercises, like sit-ups for example? That would keep her body smooth and delicious. I, for one, do sit-ups all the time and it works with me. If I had an amputee lolly to keep cheerful, I'd do sit-ups with her. Then I'd tickle her when she says she's tired.
For the record, it's entirely possible for amputees, even multiple ones, to retain muscle tone and fitness. It just takes exercise, the same as for anyone else, though they generally can't do all the usual ones available to the more full-bodied. She's working very hard at her physical rehab, perhaps because it helps her forget about her difficulty with her mental rehab, unfortunately. I'm not really sure about that. Her family. There was nobody listed as next of kin on her records, just social workers. gossip around the workplace, passed on from those of us with friends at the hospital she spent her first 2 months in, is that her father was a first-generation American Fjordian. Specific country not mentioned, might have been Sweden. Only child, and his parents were dead, no information on grandparents. Her mother was a multi-generation in-Japanese American, whose family hasn't made any attempt to even contact them, and may have refused to answer any of the various workers' attempts at getting information/attention from them. Guess she pissed them off pretty badly by marrying Whitey. Nobody even vaguely Japanese-looking has ever visited her since the accident, and from what I've heard, her social worker has been having no luck whatsoever with any sort of family placement, and she has a better chance of growing a new arm and legs than getting placed in a group home or foster care. The system sucks.
OP, this is Satoko from Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. Ni.
OP, does the lolly look like this? Well, as far as coloration goes, it's reasonably close. Hairstyle's not too far off either, at least since the accident. I think she may have had longer hair before, but it's been cut relatively short, since she was getting really frustrated and worked up about not being able to brush her own hair anymore, and refused to let anyone else do it for her. I mean, think about it. Her mother probably used to do it for her, and... Anyways, I guess it's sort of close. She's not retarded. She's very intelligent. It's just that she's been so badly traumatized that she's developed severe PTSD. I mean, PTSD that makes fucked up Vietnam veterans look healthy. Withdrawing from human contact, depression, anxiety, aggression, fear of the dark, nightmares. She's voiced the thought that she has no future and nobody wants her anymore to therapists. She practically goes into a fear coma every time she has to ride a vehicle somewhere, as a trigger from the crash. I really wish there was magic in the world. I'd do anything for there to be magic that could make everything all right again.
This thread shines brighter than any star!
It's official. The number of posts added from yesterday's thread to today's thread is more than 1,000. This thread has reached Platinum Epic.
If this turns out good, Anonymous should write a book about it so that we can beat 2chan and their Densha Otoko.
Hey OP, you're Nurse Otoko.
You can do it. Nasu!
Also, start bringing her small gifts each night. Just a brief visit, but the regularity and stability of it is important. Also, say it's for the 12 days of Christmas, or something like that. What is OP thinking right now? What is he doing? I can only wonder. You have been given the winningest opportunity of a lifetime. Don't fuck it up. Everyone on B is playing a role. Trolling, counter-trolling, switching sides, spamming, all in the name of lols. This is the first time I've stepped out of character as a B-tard and just said what I really meant in 2 years of posting. This whole story just tastes too much like reality to me, and even if it's just a story, it's a damn interesting one. There are too many inconsistencies, and the OP keeps shifting his perspective between caring for the girl out of an inborn sense of paternal duty and the animalistic cunning of a predator. If this was a story, it would be polished and have no holes. Everything would match up and just be too perfect. That's not how life works, though. I sincerely hope that if you do love this girl and have feelings for her that are not merely sexual, that you will try to protect her from the harsh realities being a ward of the state involves, and gently reintegrate her into normal society. If you do adopt her, be kind and let her find out who she truly is, now that who she was has died. Also, you best kick the shit out of anyone who ever makes a crack about the way she looks. You think other people will treat a one-armed, one-eyed, no-legged half-Jap like an equal? No. Regardless of her intelligence, the majority of people will treat her like shit. Nobody will ever see her in her prosthetics and with her eye patch across the dance floor at the high school dance and think, hey, that's the girl with whom I want to dance. At best, she will be condescended to. That's fucking worse. She could get a pity boyfriend who is going out with her to look good in front of other people. Hey, I'm going out with the severe cripple. He might even marry her, but in a few years, the charm of being Mr. Nice Guy will wear off, and he'll find an excuse to leave her. OP, are you doing this because you feel bad for her? Do you think deep down inside she would want that? I apologize for sounding harsh, but if you are going to adopt her out of pity alone, just forget about it. I believe you aren't, but really think about it. If you do anything awful to her while she's in that state, then you will have probably assured your seat in hell. Do yourself a favor and leave her alone. You are already a terrible person for even having such thoughts about a girl who has gone through such a terrible accident. But if you are okay with an eternity in hell, then by all means, do your business. Afterwards, you'll probably end up slitting your wrists because you will realize how shitty a person you are. OP here, pointed out because this will be a short response. I care about her because I care about her. I'd do it if she had everything intact, physically and mentally. Of course, if that was the case, we probably wouldn't ever have met, and I wouldn't have given her more than a momentary glance as we passed each other in the mall or something, and would have thought, wow, cute kid. It's complicated. I know I'll get laughed at for this, but I don't go around fantasizing about junior poopers. She's a special case. This is a heartwarming tale. However, while I don't claim to know much about adoption procedures, I wouldn't think it unlikely that they would allow a young single male to adopt anyone other than family. But I understand that the foster care system, etc., is pretty fucked up, so I guess you might have a chance just by virtue of them wanting to get rid of her. Sorry, but that fairy tale shit just doesn't happen. I'd put her odds of winding up in foster care, which I'm sure would be spectacular for her, at around 1%. Foster parents don't have to accept any kids, they choose to do so. Thus, the really messed up ones rarely ever leave group homes, and group homes don't have to accept kids they admit they can't care for, such as those with severe physical and medical needs, let alone severe mental health issues. That's where the institutional care comes in, which is where she's at and where she'll stay unless someone outside the system, per se, steps in and takes a risk. Frankly, I don't see anyone else stepping up to the plate so far. Odds are if she had any close family left, she wouldn't be stuck in a facility like this, or maybe they live in another country. Adoption is pretty unlikely, even if it's uncontested. Having a single guy want to adopt a young girl usually raises some red flags. Odds are it's straight to the foster home of some kind as soon as she's through with rehab. Yeah, I know it's a long shot, but I've seen single parents adopt successfully before. I'm actually a pretty upstanding guy, battle scars aside, and I can actually care for her special needs. No, this is not an innuendo, which is a big plus in such a case. I have a steady income already, I have friends and family that'll stand beside me, and yeah, nobody in the system wants her. Frankly, B is my biggest danger here, but I'm a B-tard, and B-tard I shall be. I'll just have to be careful there. This is a terrible thing to do to B, but I suggest that you leave B until the adoption process goes through. That would fucking suck because we all want to hear every day about your wonderful life, but in the end, it might be the best. Whatever you do, befriend her. If adoption by you proves impossible, still keep in touch and support her. The latter outcome may completely eliminate the possibility of lollies, but at least she'll have someone to turn to if life keeps treating her bad. This thread will be going overboard soon. What do we do after? Wait for the next update, like yesterday? Well, I don't have anything too pressing this afternoon. I could start another thread and stick around a bit longer if people have further questions. It's not like I spend my off hours curing cancer or something. I think you should adopt a lolly and spend your off hours curing cancer. OP, I hope you remember to suggest getting her a teddy bear at the meeting like you said you were going to, or just smuggle one in. I hope nobody there has their heart to take a teddy bear away from her just because it's against regulations. Believe me, I hope so too. The head administrator isn't a complete bitch, and most of the rest of the nursing staff and orderlies are relatively decent people, for being in a high burnout profession. I can just keep my fingers crossed and hope that it either causes no furor or a small enough one that I'll get off with a slap on the wrist. I'm the doujinshi writer of yesterday's thread, and as soon as the story gets to its first climax, we'll finally get our own atrociously perverted answer to Densha Otoko. Also, I'm an aspiring movie director.
Climax? Oh wow, more like wannabe.
OP, I don't know if this would be possible, but you might consider organizing some of the other nurses to get something for her. Perhaps a Christmas gift? It would be a lot less creepy, and if you are clearly the ringleader, it would still endear you to her. Also, it would be a good way to make your concern for her known before trying to adopt her. If gifts that she won't talk about mysteriously appear and then out of the blue you would apply to adopt her, people might assume you've been doing other things behind their back too. OP here. Someone may want to archive this thread before it implodes.